Wicked. Jungle is massive.
Wicked.
I'm going to start off the whole podcast with that.
Oh my god.
And then it'll do the intro sequence, and then it'll go on to the pod.
I thought we got to stop pointing. I'm getting confused now. Oh god.
No. Point for the intro, right?
Right.
And then wait 5 seconds whilst pointing, and then start talking, like introduce the podcast.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Because then we'll cut in as we're doing that. Otherwise, I'm just going to have the beginning bit before the intro sequence is this for 2 hours.
Right, so I'm going to point, and then I'm going to talk 5 seconds and after I point.
Yes.
Oh god, I'm all red now. Oh, I'm a bit... I thought your eyes were going to pop out onto your cheeks. What the fuck happened there? Oh god.
Listen, I laugh.
Okay, so I'm going to point and then finish pointing and wait 5 seconds.
No,
Right.
I'm not going to do that. No.
Right.
No. I will do it for you.
Yeah, you
Ready?
do it, you do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the number 2 podcast featuring Modded Gossip with Ali and myself. Welcome. We've got a few points that we're going to talk about. Are you going to say hello, Ali?
Hi, everyone.
That's about time. Yeah, I was wondering when you're going to pipe
Well, because you wouldn't pipe down, let's be honest.
Pipe down.
Yeah,
Probably
pipe down.
My announcer voice.
Pipe it down.
So how you doing anyway? How you doing?
Alright, I'm good. I've got coffee.
Got coffee?
I've got
I've
Coke.
Got coffee as well.
I've got Coke, I've got coffee, and I've got me pipe.
Coke?
Yeah.
What do you mean Coca-Cola?
Diet Coke. And it's
Or a
actually
fat
Coke.
Old line. Hold on a second, mate.
Yeah, 7 stripes.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff that we need to talk about. Well, I say a lot of stuff. It's quite a good few topics that we're going to be talking about. I was just touching my own nipple.
yes, that was lovely.
It's just like my pectoral muscle is like really pectoral. Is that a thing?
Yes, it is.
His muscle's like really aching. I don't know what it is. Like it feels like surface. I don't know. It's like just right of my shoulder. It just hurts. But yeah, so I wasn't just touching my nipple. I was just like
He's just pulled something.
nursing a wound. But yeah, we've got a few things that we're going to talk about. It's quite an, I wouldn't say nerdy one. It's quite a tech-orientated one today. We're not going to go all bells and whistles and talk about, unicorns and fancy things like that. We've got some good...
Whoa, unicorns. I've got some unicorn
Oh.
RGB going on, so we can link it to that. As you can see here. Look at that, beautiful. There's your RGB. There's a unicorn, love.
Oh yeah, so basically you got unicorn on the left side of Ali's screen. I've got my own RGB behind me on the door.
Yeah.
I don't need no RGB in my PC.
Yeah, you got a ghetto RGB. It's great. Love it.
Ghetto? Don't call it ghetto.
Why?
Because it makes me feel bad. It makes me
Why?
feel like that's not good enough. Oh yeah, your ghetto RGB.
No, but ghetto, in
I've
the
got
American
made it myself,
vernacular.
which I have.
Yeah,
Oi.
but ghetto is like, it's modding.
It's
ghetto,
yeah,
because
I'm modded my room.
There we go.
Okay, we're going to come on from the first point.
Is your door overclocked?
My door is overclocked.
I
It
thought
is
so.
overclocked to 2.1 hinges. It was originally 2 hinges, but I had to put that 0.1 on it. But anyway, we're going to start off with I wouldn't say debacle, but it's the NVIDIA new launch. Do you want to take it away with this one?
Well, right, let's get to the point here. So, Pascal, the current architecture, the
Let's
10
do some
series.
explaining as well.
So Pascal's the architecture that NVIDIA are currently using for their current GPUs. So the 10 series site, for example, I have a 1080 in my system. And I bought that, when did I buy that? March 2016.
It was about March, yeah.
So it's been almost 2 years, near enough 2 years. And normally GPUs are updated every year, apart from the 6 series, GTS 680, that had a That was around for 2.5 years. It did have a refresh with the 7 series, but essentially it was based on the same architecture. So, you know, they'd turboed it, but they hadn't done anything. They hadn't changed the process of how they build the chips. And it looks like now, even though you've got this massive problem with the bit mining and there's a shortage in graphics cards, it's rumoured that GeForce won't be releasing any new gaming cards at the GTC, which is the graphics expo at the end of the month, 26th of March, I think.
So they've got nothing on the cards.
Well, they have, but not for the gaming. So GeForce is the gaming brand. They've got obviously their Quattro line, which is for high-end CAD and also any other sort of computing. But
so more processing and
I mean, you can use them for gaming, but they're like thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds, and it'd be silly to do.
It seems pointless to spend that sort of money if you're just going to be playing games.
That's right. So they've got 2 different architectures apparently coming out, which is Volta, which sounds like that's going to be used for the Quattro, you know, high-end CAD and graphics and 3D
post-processing and things like that.
Kept going 3D. So they got Volta, and they've also got Turing. And people are saying, oh, well, Turing is going to be the gaming card. But if you know your history, then Alan Turing, famous British mathematician, was the chap who invented the computer which decoded the Enigma code. So then you kind of think, okay, cryptocurrency, you decrypt the currency to find it, so maybe the Turing will be the crypto cards, which they said they are going to look at developing cards for cryptocurrency. So they may be the same sort of architecture as GeForce, but they probably won't have display outs, or many of them, because with cryptocurrency you don't need it. You run multiple cards on one motherboard, and you just need a display out to make sure everything's set up, and then they're going to use the horsepower to decrypt the currency.
Which most people have already got a display port on their PC, like based in their motherboard, won't they?
Yeah, exactly.
To go with their onboard graphics.
Well, if you're running like 8 or 12 cards, you just need one, or maybe your onboard graphics to do it. So, I don't know. The problem, I think, is two-prong. The first one is the fact that AMD really haven't come up with anything that's competitive. Vega 56 isn't as powerful as the 1070, really, and it uses more power. And the Vega 64, it's not really competitive with the 1080, and it uses more power, and the prices are fluctuating anyway, because you can't really worry about.
So bad right now.
Yeah, right now you can't really look at prices and think anything of it, because they've just been hyperinflated by all these crypto miners buying them all up.
If you look at recent second-hand store prices, the Vega has actually broken 900 quid now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on 940. It's gone up again. 940 for a Vega. It's the limited edition one.
So
they're so limited about it.
I think it's the what do they call it? The
limited edition, because not enough were not produced.
Yeah, but it was something else. Pioneer. I think it was the Pioneer edition, if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. I had a little hiccup and a burp combo there.
Oh, mind you, overclockers are selling it for 570.
Yeah, that's if it's in stock.
Which it's not.
There you go.
No, not at all. Yeah, not available anymore.
So you've basically got a lack of competition from AMD, and you've also got the fact that right now, because of that lack of competition, they don't really need to release anything. They could have something ready, well, they don't need to release it, because who are they competing against? You know, they can just keep selling what they've got. And the other reason is because, to be honest, there's nothing out there really that's pushing the hardware to the extremes. It's not like 10 years ago we had a game like Crysis.
There isn't enough competition with these cards anymore.
No, and that's where, like, because AMD's done really well with Ryzen, so Intel, for example, have had to completely review what they're doing in terms of their processors, and they started to up the cores and threads, and they've brought out new processors, and they're competitive prices. So competition's good, because, you know, it helps with development, it helps with research and development, making better products. When you've got a monopoly, you can just sit on your laurels until you need to bring out something. So, yeah, if they don't bring out a card, I'm not particularly bothered. I've got a 1080, I run at 1440p, and I can play most games maxed out. So, I'm happy with what I've got. But it's been 2 years, and the last card that was this long was the 6th generation 680 series, or the 600 series, should I say. That was 2.5 years. So they may release something later on down the line. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to release anything whilst this cryptocurrency like escapade is going on. I don't reckon they're going to release any more cards until they absolutely have to, because they're making money here just selling all their old stock off. I feel like people don't want to get the 1080s. You know, like a 1080 Ti is now not a luxury graphics card. You know, now people know that you can't get a 1080, so they're like, well, you know, they're selling off like the lower models, the ones that are still being made. Like you see, we mentioned this on the last podcast, that if someone sits there and they go to buy a rig, they're not going to afford a 1080 Ti. It's just not possible.
Well, yeah, you say
so they're
right.
going to go for things in their price range. So this is kind of good to sell off the older cards.
They don't produce the 1080 anymore anyway.
TIs, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, no, well, the 1080 don't produce. The 1080 Ti, funnily enough, isn't as great for cryptocurrency as something like the 1070. That's the sweet spot. In terms of power usage and compute power, it's the 1070s that are really good. So, but because there's such a... because it's so desperate at the moment, because there's hardly any on the market, they're all being brought up. All the lower end now, the 1060s, 1050 Ti's, and the Radeons, like the 580s, 480s, and that are all being bought as well as the Vegas. So it's just completely hyperinflated. To be honest, what Nvidia, they've done some stuff like on the website, they're limiting to one purchase and that, but they just need to produce more. If they're not going to produce new ones, then they just need to keep producing more cards and limiting, purchasing like they have been, and maybe getting third parties to do it as well. But they could, if they wanted to. If I was them, if they're not going to release a new architecture, then why not release 1080s and 1070s with no display outs? And so they can release them for the Bitcoin miners. They've got the plants that are already manufacturing at the 12 nanometer process, which is what the 10 series uses.
Do you think there's any way to stop gaming graphics cards from being used for this? To try and push them away, like push them to their own cards. The crypto miners. Are they called crypto miners?
Yeah. Well, look,
I would force them to get to there, use their own cards.
Not really. I'd just take the display ports out and sell them specifically for crypto miners. Maybe that would help.
I don't know. It's just looking on CEX's website, believe it or not, the 1080 Ti standard goes for 820 quid.
What does the 1080 go for at the moment on there?
Just the 1080?
Yeah.
560. That's the water-cooled version as well.
See, that's actually not bad. If they've got any in stock.
550. No, they don't.
No, of course not.
We haven't got on this website. We haven't got any Radeons like the 900 quid ones. There's no 1080 Ti's. There's no water-cooled ones. There's one 1080 Ti stock for 820.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
One Vega stock. And honestly, Titan X is 530 quid. I never thought I'd see the day to seeing a Titan X for that.
I think because crypto miners got to be really conscious about power usage. And the Titan X can use a lot of power, and if they've got it on for 24 hours a day, it might not be economically viable. So
that's insane. My graphics card now, at the moment, I own the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070. The 1070 is a good standard, nice, reliable card. It's now being sold at CEX for double what I paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Double. That's £490. And I paid 240 or 245, something like that. That's insanity. Because if I'd have started building a rig right now, I'd have ended up with a, 5680 Radeon or something.
Oh yeah, no, you'd have to buy used, and you have to buy lower end, or something like a 1050 Ti. They're still good for 1080, for 1080p gaming. So, but it's all about that. But yeah, so there's a Tom's Hardware in Germany are claiming that the Turing is a gaming's graphics card, but I can't. And that's a rumor, but I just don't think I wouldn't call it the Turing, because the Turing's based on him decrypting code.
Behind that.
So
Of all the
Yeah.
things that they could call the card, they decide to call, they basically call the card someone that was iconic for decrypting.
Well, allegedly, they said that they were going to. They said that they were going to create a bit mining card anyway, but it's also rumored that they were previously going to call it Volta or Ampere, but they're going to go with Turing instead. But I don't know. And they also think the first two cards are obviously going to be likely. It's going to be the GTX 280, and not 280, the 2080, shall I say, 2000, whatever you want to call it, and the 2070.
Yeah.
And Volta will be used as the Quattro line. So Quattro is for CAD design, graphics, AI, machine learning. I don't know. It's just we'll have to wait and see at the end of the month, I think, because I'm interested to see what's gonna be happening, because it's.
If we're going to go purely by definitions of the words, obviously Turing was famous for decrypting, as we've mentioned, and Volta is a term used in Italian dance, I believe, and it means turning quickly.
Well, if you've got Volta and Ampere, then you could say amps and volts. You know, the whole electrical thing, which is fine.
But isn't it specifically VOLTA?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, exactly.
So that's like turning or timing quickly. I think, as you say, for me, the definition of turning quickly, or the time being of the shortest, I think it's going to be the highest clockable card. I think it's going to be something special, the Volta, and as you say, the Turing is going to be bit.
It also depends whether they're going to use GDDR6 memory or they're going to go to the HBM, which Vega uses.
I don't think there's anything about that, is there?
No, but I hope. What I want to happen is for AMD. I'm not a fanboy. I never have been of anything. I ran Intel chips for years, and then I went to the Ryzen because I thought it was good value for money. I liked the fact it had a lot of cores, and it meant that I could use my rig for different things. And I'm not a fanboy. I just want the best value for money. I always have. And yeah, okay, I'm an early adopter, and it's what I enjoyed, spending my money on. But I love bang for buck as well. And if you've got a modest system, getting the best out of it. And right now, it's a really good time to do it. If you're going to look for a graphics card, look used. Just look used. Go on to eBay's fine, but like Gumtree, if you're in an area like London or anywhere with a large city, you can get a lot of used cards on there and really exploit it. We live in this, well, not in the sticks, but in the county we're in, we don't even have a city, so it's one of the county. Our county is one of the biggest, I suppose, and it's got the lowest population per square mile or whatever you want to call it. So you go somewhere like Gumtree, you're not going to find much on there. Gumtree. So yeah, I'll be interested to see. What I'd like to see is AMD. Maybe Nvidia doesn't release anything or announce anything at the GTC, but hopefully.
How likely is that though?
For a gaming card, it can be likely, and they might go to sometime like July, because why do they need to? It depends what AMD says, because they're Nvidia's massive. They're going to have something lined up ready. Whether they think they need to announce it or not is a different story. It's all like it's like poker, because you don't know what the other companies are doing, what they're going to release, what they've got. So it'd be interesting to see what AMD does and whether they have the Vega 2. I really want AMD to be competitive or competitively priced. So if, for example, the Vega 56 wasn't as good as the 1070, make it 100 quid cheaper. So then it's in between the 1060 and 1070.
Make it relative.
Yeah. Relative and competitive to the price point. So yeah, that'll be. That'll be interesting. But look, let's move on from this now. I want to talk more about it. I reckon when it gets closer to end of March.
That's fine. I just spotted something on here that I'm just going to move my mics. There you go. I've just spotted something that the Ampere graphics cards, or something that's been mentioned, will be selling for $1,500.
Right. Well, then you could probably safely assume that
it's speculation, it's rumor, but $1,500 for a graphics card. I don't know.
Gamers aren't. You're going to get. It's very niche. Oh, drop something.
This is where console gaming will take over.
Yeah, but
If
it could affect console
console
gaming.
gaming to attack. It's now. It's definitely now.
It could affect console gaming, couldn't it? Because the GPUs can come from Nvidia or AMD.
Oh, definitely. But what I mean is, you can buy a gaming setup in a little tiny package for 300-400 quid. Like at the moment, I know it's 4K is a 4K gaming is a term that's thrown around quite a lot, but you can get a 4K gaming machine, shall we say, with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X for less than it costs a high-end graphics card.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's an all-inclusive unit. Do you see what I mean? So I think now if there is going to be a planned attack that console gaming and the console companies will do, I think now will be the time where people cannot physically afford to get these graphics cards, and they'll be like, right, well, we've got this. You can't do Bitcoin mining on a console, or do you reckon they'll find ways to do it?
Well, if they can hack a console, then they'd go for it. If the
PS4's been hacked with Linux, hasn't it? Linux.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you pronounce that.
Linux. I think.
Linux. You can put Linux on there, and I'm pretty sure that you could do something with a some sort of mining program. It's got an internet connection. It's got a Wi-Fi chip, and it's got some power.
Yeah, there's no reason why not.
And PlayStations are fairly cheap.
Yeah, I mean the original PlayStation's 10 a penny now.
Oh man, you can get a PlayStation for
150 quid.
150 quid second hand.
Yeah.
Think of how many PlayStations and essentially how much power that you could get for the price of the Vega. Do you know what I mean? That's ludicrous. 6-7 PlayStations. I don't think it's an avenue that hasn't been thought of before, though. I think there are people planning it. Yeah. But anyway, as you say, we'll this is all speculation at the moment. We will progress more into this in a future podcast closer to the time. The next point I think we should bring up is very similar. It's AMD flavoured, but you're very excited because you're an early adopter. But what we're going to say about the Ryzen 2? I don't know much about the Ryzen 2.
Right, so... I haven't
done much reading, but take it away.
The original Ryzen was released last year, and it's based on the Zen architecture.
That's what we got.
And it uses the AM4 motherboard. Now, what I'm excited about, the Ryzen 2, which isn't Zen 2, so the architecture's the same, but it's been boosted, basically. It's the Zen Plus. It runs on AM4, so you get a BIOS update, and you can put the chip into your existing AM4 motherboards, which is great. You know, you don't need a new motherboard at all. It won't bottleneck it. Nothing like that. It'll run straight off the bat. And we saw that with the Ryzen 2, well, technically the Ryzen 2 APUs that came out a couple of weeks ago with the built-in Vega. So they've leaked. There's been some leaks on the 2700X, and it's unofficial, but you normally get it on benchmarking software. You know they'll do it, and basically what they've. So it's got the same cores and same threads, 8 cores, 16 threads, it's the same as the 1700X. The base clocks are slightly different. So the base clock on the new chip is 3.7 as opposed to 3.4, and the boost clock is 4.2 compared to 3.8. So already you've got higher base clock rates. So for example, I've got a 1700. I didn't go for the X series because I'm pretty savvy at overclocking, and I know what I'm doing. Yeah,
you did help me with mine a lot as well, and I got the 1700, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got
That's right.
1700, and we overclocked, which, you know, it just makes sense. There's no point spending that extra money when you can do it yourself.
Yeah,
and because it's so easy now.
I mean, to be honest, the X series they say are technically better binned chips, so they pick the cream for the crop. So you could get another 100 megahertz out of it, but it's not worth the extra price. Like, it's an extra 100 quid. For 100, it's no point. So anyway, so you got the 2700X.
Stick around that money.
The boost clock is 4.2. So I've got my 1700 at 3.9. I can get it up to 4, but it uses too much voltage, to be honest, and I don't want to burn it out. And looking at this, there was a YouTuber called Joker who I watch, and he tried to simulate the difference between the 2700X and the 1700. So he boosted his 1700 up to 4 gigahertz, and he had the same GPU, same setup. I think the RAM was different, but it was the same speed and same amount. So this thing was running at 3200 megahertz, 16 gig, and his scores were only, they were like, the 3D Mark physics score was only 700 points difference. Like, it was in the 8000s. Yeah. and some of the other scores were within 5%. But that's his overclock to the max. And so you can say, okay, maybe you can get these new CPUs 300, 400 megahertz higher, so you might get them to, on a really good day, 4.6 overclocked, probably 4.5. So for me, I don't know. I probably won't get one, I don't think, because it doesn't seem like it's worth it. You could say maybe I get a 10% increase in performance, which isn't enough.
Which isn't, it's not enough of a performance boost for the amount of money that you're paying. It's not relative to the expense.
No. I hope it's more than that, and I hope the performance is more than that for not only me personally, because then I'd be excited to get one, but for their competitiveness against Intel, because they're still competitive, but it'd be nice to see a 30% increase or even 20%, because then it keeps Intel on their toes.
Well, healthy competition, is great for the market. If you get competition, give people the choices that they deserve.
Well, you've got the i7 8700K, which is Intel's high-end consumer chip, and on single-threaded performance, it was beating the Ryzen. Not a huge amount, but enough. On multi-core, no, because the 1700, the X and the 1800X have got higher clock count. I think the 8700. Let me just double check this, but I'm sure the 8700K is 6-core 12-thread.
6 cores.
Yeah, 6-core 12-thread. So if they can bump up the speed, single thread speed, then it'd be worth other people thinking about whether they decide to get a Ryzen chip, especially if they keep the price competitive. So yeah, I'm hoping. Yes, it's 6-core 12-thread. So I'm hoping that they will. Yeah, they'll boost the clock even further, because these are all rumored. It's leaked, and you don't know, because it apparently is quite easy, and I don't know whether the the core clock can go up that much higher, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see. Now is that I just had a message there. Is that better, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Good.
We'll just say it's a little bit of a tech issue on my end. The noise gate was a little high, so it kept cutting out on my end. It's obviously not going to affect your end, and the video as such. But I just thought I'd just let him know. So that's all. Okay. We'll get back to it. So, do you think that these processors are going to be something that you adopt? Because I know you like the early adoption. I know you do a lot of research, and then you find out the good and bad points, and that's how we managed to get to the Ryzen chips. But do you think Ryzen 2 is a little bit of a risk at the moment? Obviously I know it's not out yet, because the leaks have only just come on. But would you, as soon as it comes out, would you sit there and go, "I'm going to try this.
No,
I'm going to make a rig and do it."
No, I look at the benchmarks. Gamers Nexus, they're really good for benchmarks. I use Gamers Nexus as a launching point when I looked at the original Ryzen, and the reason I bought Ryzen over Intel was, even though the core clock, the single-threaded speeds were slower, DirectX 12 and a lot of newer games are taking multi-core seriously now. So instead of having single-threaded performance, having that horsepower, if you've got more cores and they working simultaneously, then maybe.
Then essentially, there's more processes going on at the same time, which then could.
Yeah, and if they program games like that, then it will run faster on Ryzen, because they've got more simultaneous threads. And remember that consoles use multi-thread, they're 8-core, so you've already got games now. They're being optimized for consoles, and that doesn't mean that they can't be adopted like that for the PC. But I'm going to wait for the benchmarks. To be honest, because I'm running at 1440p, there's not a bottleneck. The bottleneck will be on the graphics card end. Whereas if you're running at 1080, then there is a bottleneck. But to be honest, it's when you're in the hundreds of frames per second, so that doesn't bother me anyway.
Unless you've got a lot of money to spend on a monitor, that's not something that you'll worry about.
No, if you're playing on a 144 hertz monitor, or you're one of these gamers that likes 400 frames a second on CS:GO or something, Well,
I never
not
got that.
no.
I never got why people would want to, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on to a little bit of a digression here. I never understood why people were playing Counter-Strike Go, which you could run on a dirty pair of underpants. But why would you need 400 frames a second? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no display.
Maybe people can
that
leave it in the
that.
comments because I don't understand it. I understand a smooth experience.
Please do.
Now,
because I just don't know.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is why isn't it causing frame tearing? So if your GPU is running at much higher frame rate than your screen, you can get what's called frame tearing. For people who don't know, it looks like a portion of the screen is slightly out of sync with, so you get like 2 inches at the top of the screen, 2 inches in the middle are like literally tearing apart. Now,
you would have seen it on some poorly optimized console games if you've done that. Like, I've seen it myself.
Yeah, and the only way to remedy that is to put on VSync, which vertically synchronizes the hertz, but that causes lag, and they don't want that when they're playing competitively. So I don't know. I don't know enough about that, but I'd certainly say that if I've got a 144 hertz monitor, then I'd want games. The minimum frame rates would be, say, 160, just to give it that margin of error. Because if you go below that, then, well, you could cause issues again with the screen.
I'm just going to put in here the highest refresh rate monitor.
Yeah, because TVs are bullshit when they put this whole motion
I know
flow
that.
and all that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's 1,000 hertz. It's not 1,000 hertz. It's post-processing to make it look like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think 200
is 240 hertz.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how much is that? Like £1,000 or something for that monitor?
This is just an HD monitor, not 4K.
Yeah.
240 hertz, 24.5 inches. Amazon are selling it for $500 apparently.
Wow, that's not bad. But then, if you're going to spend that much on a monitor, you can afford to buy the rest, because you're not gonna spend that and then scrimp on your PC. You should always buy the best PC you can, and then go from there, really. But
monitors are quite reasonably priced in them on the American Amazon.
Yeah, but dollars, the pound's weak because of Brexit.
I was to say, so... I don't believe the British or the English Amazon is going to be as rewarding. 240 hertz. Let's just do that. 240 hertz. Wow. Okay. I take that back. At the moment, it's on offer for 360 quid.
Oh, that's not bad then. I mean, but then again, it depends on what you want, because I've got a 32-inch HP Omen. It's got 5 milliseconds response, which people, if they're playing competitively, especially first-person shooters, would say that's too slow. It's a VA panel, which is. It's not as slow as the old IPS panels. It's not as fast as the TN panels, but it has better colour than the TN, but not quite as good as the IPS. And that was, how much did I get this for? 320 quid.
Wow, that's cheaper than what it is now, and it's on special now.
I think it was 320 quid, and I love it. But for the sort of games, I'm an enthusiast, but I'm not competitive, so...
Sorry?
I'm an enthusiast, but I'm not competitive.
Competitive, alright. Yeah, sorry, just sideswipe a little bit. Sorry about this. Can you turn the gate down a little bit, because it's still cutting out.
Right, hang on a second.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, the only thing, though, there's going to be a little bit of a problem with your screen, because I have to minimise your little face. Minimising face. Right.
Sorry,
we need technical music. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll probably put that in editing.
Right, here we go. How about that? How's that? Is that lush?
Yeah, that's lush for me. That's lush for me.
Okay, lushness is good. I'm going to... Discord just crashed. So we have still got some technical difficulties. Bear with. Here we go. And he's back online.
Hello.
There we go.
Hello. You can hear me okay? Everyone's all good?
Yeah, everything is wicked. Wicked. Don't need a gate for that. What is jungle?
It's massive.
Thank you. There we go.
There's quite a massive jump between, for instance, the HP Omen 32-inch, 350 quid, right?
Yeah.
That seems quite reasonable. The HP Omen 35-inch, right? Because it's curved, 950.
Yeah.
Now that's a massive jump.
What's the resolution on that one?
The resolution is 4K. No,
Oh, so it's not an ultra wide.
344. Sorry.
Is it an ultra wide?
Yeah, ultra wide.
So 344 by 1440, yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, so that's kind of in between 1440 and obviously 4K because you haven't got them.
100 hertz refresh rate. That's what.
Mine's 75 hertz if I had a Vega card or Radeon because it's FreeSync. But I have to run it at 60 because otherwise I get loads of screen tearing at 75 hertz because Nvidia cards don't like it, which is fine.
That goes beyond me at the moment. I still play games. I play it at 4K on a TV, just big TV here. It's good enough for me.
The only problems with TVs, in my opinion, is the input lag potentially because they've got a lot of processors, and even on gaming mode, you can turn most of them off.
I've literally turned everything off. This is a raw signal. No, if there's one thing I know about it's TVs. No, I've dealt with them too much. You just turn everything off.
Yeah.
You know, every post-process, everything. You turn true motion off, dynamic contrast.
Dynamic
Contrast. Let me show you my other car. It's a car and a speedboat. But yeah, I think PC monitors are grossly overpriced. No, I think they're overpriced. I think the jump is overpriced. I think you can get nice monitors, really good quality, and then as soon as you go ultra wide, it's like, yes, you need to be a millionaire.
Yeah, but I think with that, there's also the manufacturing process at the factory because they've been creating 16:9 monitors for years, decades. Well, not decades, but nearly 2 decades, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then you go to a different ratio, and they've got to create a completely new fabrication process. Same with the curved.
I understand that.
I've had an ultra wide. I got rid of it. Because it wasn't. What was it? 30. It was 30, 35, 34 inch, and that was nice, but I just couldn't get on with it. I just didn't feel it was the right ratio for me. It was just too wide. I suppose if you had a curved ultra wide and you're playing like racing games or space sim where you really want that immersion, but I prefer the 16:9 ratio for like first person shooters and that I play, especially like GTA 5. I played in an ultra wide. It was just weird. It was just too much.
Yeah, I'm used to 16:9. I'm afraid. Like I'm fine with that. I don't think I will go to ultra wide unless there is some ridiculous sale, and then I will sit there and make myself get used to it. If I can get £1,000 monitor for 300 quid, I'll fucking do it.
But to be honest, because you like a multi-monitor setup, a curved ultra wide would be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it would.
Because you could take away those extra monitors, and you've had all that bullshit with them, where like games go to the wrong monitor or Windows assigns.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, so that would get rid of all that. You wouldn't have that problem.
No, but the thing is, though, I like multi-monitors so I can have something on one screen and then I can have something on the other, completely separate. I can't run an application in full screen and have that other thing up.
You can have borderless window and have something else up.
Yeah, but I don't like that.
Anyway, look, let's move on from that now.
If it's borderless window, I just click off it. Do you remember all those times in PUBG where it's like borderless window? And, oh, look, there's an enemy, so I'm just going to click off the screen. Great. Now it's just turned it off, and I'm dead.
So yeah, Ryzen, am I excited? I'm not excited. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to wait to see what the benchmarks say, because I'm one of these people. I don't just like if I get the new Ryzen chip, I'll sell mine privately. I don't like trade it in, and that will go towards the new one. So I like to. I'm pretty savvy with that. I like to make sure.
I never used to be, but now I am.
Stuff like that. If it's not being used, I trade it in because that can go towards something I like.
Yep, that's true. I'm going to go very nostalgic now.
Nostalgia time.
It is nostalgia time. I want to talk a little bit about arcades and arcade experiences. For me, right, light gun games were always a nostalgic experience. I could talk about it for a long time, but I'm not going to.
What's your favourite?
My favourite light gun game of all time, Police 24/7. I know it's weird, and I know that I like the idea of controlling a Japanese cop.
For people who don't know, Plays 24/7, you had a frame and it would sense what your position is within that frame, so you could hide.
Motion sensors and cameras, so you could, if you aimed like that, if you needed to look around something, you would literally physically have to go like that, and then it would. Sorry, I realised that my voice would get really quiet. As you leaned, it would actually change the viewpoint, and that was amazing for me. It wasn't a great game, don't get me wrong, and it was really bad on PS2, but it was good for me. And Virtua Cop, that's got a lot of nostalgia for me. However, as everyone knows, with the introduction of HD TVs and 4K televisions, LCDs, LEDs, the technology for light guns doesn't work anymore. You can get 2 sensors, like Time Crisis 4, I think, came with or was it 3? No, it's 4. It came with 2 sensors that you put at the top and each corner of your television, so you could kind of make your light gun work. And it's okay, but it's just a glorified Wii controller. And don't get me wrong, we have done it quite well.
But you know the new Time Crisis 4 works on the same principle, but they have 10 infrared sensors.
Yeah, well, to be honest, if they release Time Crisis 5 on console and it come with 10 sensors, I am that sort of person that would be like, right, well, in that case, my TV is going to permanently have 10 sensors around it. I would buy it. I do love the Time Crisis games. But, so, because light gun games are pretty much going to be extinct, in a physical form, the arcade experience at home is now pretty much extinct. PlayStation VR is taking over. And you and I have played a lot of good, not light gun games, but first-person games like that, haven't you? You've shown me the zombie games. There's the Farpoint.
Oh, rail shooters, really cool. Yeah. Farpoint's
rail
good.
Shooters.
Doom, VXR. Yeah,
Doom is really good. I wouldn't say it's sort of like the rail shooter experience because of the teleportation, but is that?
No, but it's more okay. Look, it's more a rail shooter than Farpoint. Because in Farpoint you can move free. Well, you can move freely in Doom, but you could do it where you shoot, kill, transport. So it's a bit like a rail shooter because you by killing that person, you're transporting to the next area to shoot more enemies. If there's a lot on the screen,
I will agree with you on that one. I will agree, but it's more for me. The fact that I have to move myself means it's not a rail shooter for me. I have to sit there and choose the best position, whereas I like sitting there going, right, this is the next stage, pop, 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 pop.
Ironic, though, considering that Plays 24/7 is your favourite.
Oh, no, because you went from one area and then you had to move.
Yeah, but you still had to move in the frame, didn't you?
Yeah, but only on that one. That's what I mean. VR can make the movements, so you could basically emulate the Plays 24/7 experience by moving. But what I mean is that's the only thing that you have to do to get better angles. Whereas if I have to sit there and move the actual not controller but the actual character themselves with the sticks, I wouldn't be thinking about doing this as well to try and get better angles because I've only got 2 arms.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
It's that sort of thing.
Oh, I just want to bring something up.
Absolutely.
Ryzen 14 nanometer, not 12. My mistake.
14.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So.
Yeah. But do you think the PlayStation VR will replace the light gun experience? We've had conversations before that we've spoken about. You can, like an augmented reality where you could walk into an arcade and actually play these games, but on VR, but not in the games. You brought up a really good point where you'd like to play the machine in VR, so wherever you move, you're not changing the viewpoint of the game, but more of the view of the machine.
Right. Okay. Look, I'll tell you, and it's a bit cynical me saying this, but because I've worked in the industry, I would say that light gun games are a product of their time, and they've evolved through the medium of VR to meet people's demand of what they want to play now. So, for example, the game, I can't remember what it's called now, Raven or Haven, the one where it's 360 degrees. So you're in a fixed position, you have to shoot people all around you.
Well, is that the one that I panicked?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So, for example, it's like 2D platformers. There's been a slight resurgence, but let's be honest.
Sorry, it's called Brookhaven Experiment.
Brookhaven, there we go.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's 360 degrees. So you've got enemies coming all around you, and obviously with the VR, you can move that whole range and shoot them. But I think that light gun games are much like because they came out in the arcades. It's something you can get at home, and they could augment the processing power of the machines that were in the machines the machines, machines that are in the machines, the processors that were in the machines at the time to make the experience quite realistic. But now you've got first-person shooters, you've got other genres which can do that in a different way, and people would say better way. So
yeah, I was going to say it seems like it's a better, more immersive way.
and it's like platformers. Platformers aren't as popular as they were because the technology's moved on and it can cater for new 3D experiences. So Mario's still around, but Mario isn't what it was, and people are making retro games, but they're called retro for a reason. I think it's not just the fact of how they look, but genres in themselves can be retro by nature, like platformers, like light gun shooters. I think that VR is the future for them, but they're going to be adapted to fit.
Yeah, they're not going to be the same. I understand it's a tough thing to swallow because I'm a creature of nostalgia, shall we say? You know, I liked those light gun games. That, you know, I want more of them. I want more of them all the time. But I do understand that technology does move on, and they're, you know, that was their time, that was their place.
But I think if I was PlayStation, there's still a market, and you could make a game, for example, whereby, like I said before, you've got a virtual arcade in VR.
Yeah.
And you could have all the light gun shooters of, say, Namco, and you actually walk to the machine and you use the move controller to pick up the gun and you play that game. So you could have a whole collection of retro games in this VR world. So you could hear other people playing the games around you. You could have, say, I don't know, you could have arcade ambient sound as well. So it's not only recreating the light gun game, and you could turn it off. So if I was going to make this game, I'd make it so it had that experience. So you had basically this arcade full of shooters. You walk to the one you want to play, and you play it, and you can either play
the sound was slightly lower because obviously there's other machines going on, so it's kind of a little bit harder to hear.
It recreates the culture that the game came from.
Yeah.
And I think that would be cool.
Yeah, emulating the arcade culture. Like, another thing that would be absolutely awesome on that is there's something that we're going to touch on to just in a bit, but I'm going to just segue it just a little bit now. The whole thing of fighting games, the online of fighting games, I think is ruined the actual experience, to be honest, because there was nothing like playing a fighting game and you and your mate sitting there walking in an arcade and you look at each other and you're like, "You want to go?" They're like, "Yeah, all right."
I used to hustle.
Fight them. Yeah, but that's. I don't know if there was an arcade with any fighting games around here anymore. I don't think they'd be used that well because all games now, all fighting games are made for console because that's where the money is. But there was just nothing like just walking into an arcade and just your mate there and you've both got. I think back then it was like 20p, wasn't it? Like when we were in arcade.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it's like £2 a go, but it's about 20p or 50p, and you're like, "Yeah, you want to go?" And for £1, you had 3-4 minutes of awesome, real like.
But you're playing side by side.
Yeah, but you're trying to intimidate and trying to put them off. You move them, you nudge them to try and put them off.
But it's the fact that it's a stranger. But it's strangers as well, because I used to go into the arcade, and I used to be a bit of a.
Winner stays on and stuff. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't even be winner stays on. I'd go up to a stranger, put money in, and challenge them. Because that's what you can do, and if they could be nearly at the boss, well, don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I'd beat them, and I'd take over, and they'd have to put more money in to challenge me. And
you just ruin him like that. Oh yeah, this is a good run. Well,
yeah, that's the way. That's the way it works. There's nothing against it. That's the way the games work, and I think that's all part of the culture of fighting games. And really, the only place now, the last bastion of that sort of culture in all arcade games, video games, is Japan, and they have a lot of these little arcades, and people can while away the hours. And there's different price ranges. And they've got older machines in there that are quite cheap to play. And they have arcades full of fighting games on massive TVs and sit-down, bench, twin stick, two sticks. And I just... don't get me wrong, you can still emulate that with a console now. There's no... You can. But I think that the whole... It's all like social media and keyboard warriors, and it works the same way online with online chat and people talking and saying really bad things to other people, and it
takes away from the culture from that, because how many times when you played fighting games side by side to someone, would you then slate them and start being really offensive to them because they beat you?
No, you know what? I wouldn't. I've had people older than me. I was 14 and I had a couple of guys come up that must have been in their 20s at the time. We were talking 20 years ago. And they were blowing cigarette smoke in my face, trying to put me off, and we were playing Street Fighter Alpha. But they still stuck by the rules, whereby they wouldn't push me off the machine. They still had to beat me to take over.
Yeah.
So it was... And while I don't condone what they did, I think it's wrong, especially trying to intimidate a kid. There was like the unwritten rules, because, you know, you can challenge someone, you got to put your money in. If you win against them, then you continue your single player experience unless someone else comes in and you've got to fight to continue to stay on that machine. Yeah. There's none of that anymore.
Winner stays all is a universal term, though.
Yeah.
Winner stays all, did I say?
Winner stays on. Winner stays on.
Winner stays on, sorry. It's just a universal term, especially for fighting games. You know, like, I miss those times. There's many a times that I played fighting games, because I'm quite big into fighting games. I enjoy them a lot. I'm not good at them, but I do enjoy them. Well, I say I could probably hold my own. But sitting there playing a fighting game, many times people would come up. Just they done what you done. They would just sit down and they would just play. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. But I guarantee you that the end of that would either end in a handshake, right, of like a good game. And if I was beaten, I remember multiple times that if I was beaten on a fighting game, right, that person that beat me would get up and let me continue what I was doing on their credit.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I think that's crap. I think...
Oh, no, because the person that came up they proved their point. They had a game. They beat me. But then because I was still doing something, they were like, no, we had the game, carry on. And I thought that was really nice.
No, that is.
Don't get me wrong. It didn't happen every time. But if I was beaten, it would be a handshake. And, you know, if they had mates or, you know, they would ask, do you want to go again? If I said yes, we'd put in another 50 or 20p or 50p. We'd fight again. If I said no, then they were like either, you know, fair enough, good game. They would leave me alone. Or they would continue and their mates would come on. And then I never had a single bad experience with fighting games. And I think that's why I enjoy them so much. Because every time I play a fighting game, it kind of makes me feel like that there was good competitiveness and there was competition there, but it was never too serious. But with online games now, right, these experiences when you fight people online,
it's taken the whole culture away. That's as important as the game, in my opinion.
Exactly. But now it's just like, if you beat someone, there's a few streamers that I watch sometimes that if they get beaten, they turn into fucking toddlers. I mean, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I'm swearing. It doesn't matter, right? They turn into toddlers and they start throwing controllers and stuff. And you're like, why? It's a game. If someone's like beaten you or bested you some way, the trick of it is to find out why or how they did it and get better.
Yeah,
get good.
I don't like modern fighting games, not because because they might not be good games. I just think they should be in an upright cabinet in a space where you can play, you know, against people in the physical world. And I love online play, but certain games just don't seem to marry up to it because it's the wrong sort of culture. Now, there may be some people that are watching this that are younger than us, and you probably don't understand what the fuck we're on about, and that's fine. But we grew up where, you know, there wasn't online play back in the early 90s. If your mates wanted to play, and that's why me and Stu both love couch co-op. We love, you know, playing games together in the same room, and we do it now with modern titles. I take my PC around and we'll play PUBG.
Yeah,
and it's so much better. The experience is so much better, no matter what you're playing.
It's amazing. What we might do is, if people actually want to see it, we might record some of those things. It won't be like very high. Well, I say very high quality, but you know, we are a massive fan of couch co-op. If people want to see it, we'll record it by all means, and we'll start playing stuff. We're true lovers of the side-by-side game.
I think the last true game was around 2000 when the Xbox and Halo was out, and me and I think it was 8 of us went round one of our mates' houses, and we had two Xboxes networked. We had 4
players on each TV.
Yes, four players on each TV. But I tell you what, I can't remember if I've told you this. When I had an N64, I had a spare TV at home, and I'd split the signal, the RF signal, so it'd go out to both televisions, and then I had a piece of cardboard, and we'd put it over the other player's screen with no radar, so it'd be like 1-on-1, and we'd play off obviously 1 in 64, just split it, and we'd play 1-on-1, no radar, or 2 versus 2, which is pretty cool. But it's LAN parties are fine, but as you get older, it's more difficult, especially in Britain, to do that. And like places like America, it's near impossible unless you really make a weekend of it and you go to one of the events, because a lot of your friends live miles and miles away. I mean,
definitely traveling in America is hell compared to UK.
Yeah, because we're only a little island, but...
Well, yeah, no, I'm not going to give out too many details, but for us to travel to, a city, a popular city, I don't know if we've actually said where we live, but...
Oh, no, it's an hour's drive to the capital.
That's a good way to put it, actually. It's an hour's drive to the capital of this country. That's nothing.
No, some people have to travel in the US. You have to travel half an hour just to go and get some milk. Yeah. So, and that's one advantage with online. If you live somewhere and you can't see your friends often, you can speak to them. And I have no problem with online. It's just there's some games that really they're part of the core of what those games are. They're meant to be played in a certain way because it enriches the experience.
But then it all boils down to money again, because if people don't have, if games don't include the online anymore, once you've done the AI, if you don't have any mates, that game's useless to you. So people will probably end up not buying it because they don't have limitless play.
Oh, I don't think they should take away. There's some games out there that they don't even have the option for 2-player on the same console, So
I know.
I just think that's a bit nutty, to be honest, Basil.
I think the last fighting game that I truly enjoyed was, really, really enjoyed, was either Injustice 2, but that's purely because of the theme of the game. I love the DC characters, but for the actual game itself, I think it was Tekken 4. It was Tekken 4.
See, I never liked any of the Tekken games.
I think I was just going from what was available to me at the time. What machines were around, but that was a sit-down machine.
Yeah.
At one of the arcades, the smaller one, or Soul Calibur 1. That was a nice big old cabinet, but people used to just sit down next to you, even if they didn't want to play. They would sit down next to you and just make a conversation about what you've been,
Well, you meet new people.
Why'd you like this character? Yeah, why'd you like this character? What combos you got? Some people would tell me combos, and then they would sit there and they, teach you how to do it, and all of a sudden you learn a new move. You can't just sit there and, like back then, you couldn't just sit there and get your phone out and be like, oh, how do you do the most powerful combo?
But it was all word of mouth back then as well. You didn't have all the moves listed. You'd have to find them out by word of mouth and people.
You might get like a little hint or something like on the side of the cabinet, or like a little, oh, this is how to do this person's special move, and it would just be on the side, like right round the corner.
Yeah, but not all games had that. And I think
but it was fun to find out. Like, if you really got into a game, you would inspect that machine. You would watch all of the cutscenes at the beginning, and then you would watch all like the demos, and you just try and think, right, okay, timings. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience.
See, this leads me on to something else that I think is worth talking about, and that's the Switch. Because of the popularity of the Switch, I think if you've got multiple friends that have got that, you can actually have a LAN party that's really easy to do.
I agree.
And I'm not. I don't mind taking my PC. I'm lucky. I've got another PC that I use to take round.
Yeah, he doesn't bring the unicorn round.
No, or Unicron.
Unicron.
Transformers. Yeah, but with the Switch, say, you've got Street Fighter 2 on that, the Ultra Edition. It's a bit of a piss take for the amount it costs, but you've got all different games, and it's in the palm of your hand, and you can all get together and play that. And I really think that's what's cool about a handheld now that's viable as a console that you can play on the TV. You go around a mate's house, they've got it on their TV, you've got it in your hand, you've got another mate that comes around. You can have 5, 6, 7 mates playing whatever games, but even a game like Mario Kart, for example, I think it's one of the worst games to play online.
Oh, definitely.
It's another cultural thing where I used to play it with my mates on the SNES, and it was to see the reactions, or you swear and you go, I got you with whatever power up you've got, and you're doing them over, and
On the SNES, I don't. It's not included in the SNES version, but I'm talking about on the later ones. There was nothing quite like blue shelling someone. Just
Yeah.
say about to win,
Yeah.
and you're just like, I don't think so, Sonny Jim. Pop.
Yeah, exactly.
And the rage. Obviously, the blue shells went in the SNES version, but you know, getting that green shell right at the finish line,
or red
sucker!
shell. Yeah,
or red shell. Bam.
So I think, you know, something like the Switch now is going to bring back a lot of that social gaming and physical gaming, and that's why retro's popular now, especially with people of the older generation, because it's another excuse for them to all get together and have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's just a money dump now.
Yeah.
Like retro for the our generation is nostalgia, and nostalgia is priceless to me, right? Retro for the newer generation is what it's like to be cool. You know, like, I like retro games.
Hipsters.
You weren't born during that time. You know, you don't have any nostalgia to it, but it's cool for retro.
Retro for me are games that I played when I was a kid, not the Atari 2600 or the Intellivision. That's, to me, they're retro, but they're not my retro.
Yeah.
And I think people that are in their, say, 20s now, retro will be an original Xbox or PS2, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The only difference is that there's less of an evolution for them compared to us.
A very scary time for me, though, would be when Minecraft becomes retro gaming for the generation of today. With all these new experiences, VR experiences and augmented reality. And they're like, oh, do you remember when we used to all sit there online playing Minecraft, building penises? You know, they were the days, you know.
Oh, yeah, but it's even like, even the Wii now. Wii came out, what, 2005? Was it 2005? Yeah. So you got like Mario Galaxy. So you got someone who was like 8 back then, and they'd be 20 now. You know, 2006, so they'd be like, 19, 20 now, and they might feel something nostalgic. Dreamcast is nostalgic for me, I think.
Yeah, boy, love the Dreamcast. Way before its time.
Yeah, Dreamcast. PS1, not so much. Really, for me, the real nostalgia was like the Amiga, and going around my friends and playing the Mega Drive and the SNES and the Game Gear and the NES when I was a proper kid. PCs is kind of weird because I had a PC when I was very young, and I learned how to build them and repair them quite quickly. It was beneficial to my dad because then he didn't have to pay someone to do it. So I was lucky. I got
free IT support.
Yeah, and for that I got high-end PC systems, but they've evolved over the years. But there's not much has changed. All the nuts and bolts are the same in terms of the components and the way the games have changed, but not that much. The graphics have got better, but the genres that were out, you know, I remember having Doom.
Yes.
And I had Doom when I was 10.
On 4 discs.
Yep.
In a massive box. Oh.
And Doom 2. And for me, that's nostalgic.
Oh, yes.
As well as retro.
I 100% agree.
So
Doom's got a special place, like.
And I think that's where the Switch could capitalise. If they do it right, they could get a lot of retro games that you can play together locally through Wi-Fi, but on your Switch. So you're still playing on the modern experience the way you're playing, but it means you can all play in the same place because you haven't got to have 5, 10 televisions. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think
you've all brought your own TV with you with the unit.
Yeah, you've got everything you need in that unit, and so you can play the newest titles, or you might want to play some retro games, and the options there. So it's interesting.
I'm going to like, since you mentioned the Switch, I'm going to bring in the fact that I said I wasn't going to bring it up, but Diablo 3 on the Switch, right? Apparently it's rumored. Thinking about that just quickly, how awesome would it be to have 4 mates in the same room, each with their own screen, just rinsing up dungeons?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, with the Switch, I don't think it's going to be a case if you can pass the controller to have split screen co-op though. Diablo has got too many buttons.
No, if you had 2 controllers, you could play it co-op on a TV. Once you put it in the docked mode.
No, of course. But what I mean is, if you had a Nintendo Switch, you know, like Street Fighter, you can just pull off a Joy-Con, throw it to a mate, and be like, "That's yours. Let's fight."
You could, but it would be. You've got 6 buttons on the Joy-Con.
Yeah.
Plus the analog stick.
But you've got 4 attacks.
Yeah.
Plus your 2 other attacks.
Yeah.
So you should have 6 attacks there,
Yeah.
right? But you've also got your potions
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it'd be
and a
viable.
dodge.
I wouldn't want to
But
play it
what I
like
mean
that
is,
anyway.
yeah, I don't think
Because the
I think
Joy-Con gives me cramp because it's too small. Just
oh,
one single
as well.
Joy-Con.
Yeah, playing Doom on the Switch looks beautiful, runs beautiful, but my freaking god, you can't play it with the Joy-Cons. Like,
Well, I'll tell you how you can. You need palm rests at the back.
oh,
And there's actually a
it's the
case.
right stick. It's too low.
No, but
It's
hang on,
just too
hang on,
low.
hang on. An Xbox One controller or a 360's got that, and they've made a case for the Switch where you've got the big palm. You know, like you're not going to see this, but obviously these edges here you're missing on the Switch.
Yeah.
Where you place your hands, and yet the sticks are the lower down, but when you grip the controller, you're holding this large part of the bottom of the controller which you don't have on the Switch.
Is that the thing that comes with the Switch?
No. I'm saying no. They've done a case whereby it's a case for the
Oh.
Switch in portable mode, but it's got those big kind of I don't know what's called. You know what I mean? The claws on the
okay.
bottom of a controller.
Oh, yeah.
So I see what you're saying because it took me a while to get used to controlling it with such a thin frame, but you can get a case that it works on. But you're right. They should have changed the analog stick position.
Yeah,
But they still can.
It's not Doom is the fault. Like, definitely not, because that runs beautifully. It's just with a Pro controller that would be dreamy. But you're not really going to get out a Pro controller if you're on a bus.
No, but
Well,
what you
you
could
might,
do is they
but-
could make specific Joy-Cons with different layouts for people. They could do an Elite Joy-Con
Yeah,
that's bigger, that's thicker, that's designed for people that actually play their Switch when they're out a lot and they don't mind it feeling less portable. So you could actually have a bulkier Joy-Cons that just
a
attach.
better play experience.
Yeah.
An easier.
Yeah.
Because when I played it the other day, and the performance is second to none. It's a beautiful port. I can't
remember
talk it up
the
enough.
company that's done it. They're doing Wolfenstein 2 as well.
Yeah, but it's just when I was playing it and I was like, oh my god, like Doom is one of my faves, one of my favourite games of all time. And I was like, I'm going to be playing this handheld. And then I started playing it, and instantly my thumb was like, no, you can't do this, no, because the left stick, fantastic, left Joy-Con, beautifully placed, but to have the triggers where they are and the stick where they are, and I've got fairly small hands compared to like my head. I don't have big hands. It's an unnatural placement. So having an Elite Joy-Con would just be so nice.
You see, I don't
It
understand
would just be.
why they did it.
I don't understand why it's not done.
I don't understand why they position it there because the Wii U
It's-
controller had them both at the top.
Yeah, it's right. No, I know the answer to this one. It's if you pull off that Joy-Con
Oh,
to
yeah.
then throw it to your mate, then that means the analog stick would be the other way round if the buttons were on the inside.
Yeah, they've got to use their right
So they
thumb
have to.
instead
That's
of the
why
left
like
thumb.
the stick is still on the left, but it's a lot higher up to try and get the best of both
Well,
worlds.
they can just make another Joy-Con, or a third
That's what I
party
mean.
could make another Joy-Con.
just have an extra Joy-Con. Just if you're that bothered about it and you want an easier placement, you can get one with the sticks at the top. With the analog sticks at the top.
I'd
If you
buy
wanna
that
play
for
your
$1.
Yeah, if you want to play your mate a Street Fighter, then you hand him the other controller. The one that's actually got it on the correct side. Just have that as your single-player Joy-Con. I know it's a lot of money, but the thing is, it depends how much you want to play these games. If you want to play these single-player games, I would buy that controller so it was easier.
I think it's surprising
or Elite
because
controllers.
the Switch is aimed for a lot of adults that are, they enjoy their gaming, but they're quite busy, so they can play when they commute, say, on the train. And I think a lot of people wouldn't mind that, because if it's more comfortable and they're playing, say for an hour or something on the train, they might prefer it. And what have Nintendo got to lose? They could do a limited special edition run, see how it fares, make it a competitive price, but then they could get feedback and just see how many are bought. It's like the Elite controller, the Elite Xbox One controller for me. It's not something I'd buy. It's a nice piece of hardware, but I can understand people that would really appreciate having those different positions and being able to swap out different bits.
I own an Elite pad thanks to my wonderful girlfriend buying it for me, because controllers are my vessels. If you don't have a good controller, you're not going to enjoy the game. I don't care what anyone says. If you have cheap hardware, you're not going to enjoy the game you're playing, right? So these are nice. I don't really understand why the sticks come off. Even I know you can put like these, you can do the smooth D-pads and things, but that's fine. Even for fighting games, that's fine. But it's just it feels like a more premium product. It's heavier. It's solid. There's aluminium bits on it. It's just a solid thing. I would love for that to be brought into the Switch. Just a slightly more solid Joy-Cons and controllers. I would love that.
There's no reason why they can't do it. Especially because they're detachable. It's perfect.
Well, yeah.
They can make all different detachable. If they really wanted to, they could, really go to town with it.
But I find, like, original Xbox One pads, I find them really cheap. Too cheap feeling. So I find it's really hard for me to enjoy an Xbox One game if I didn't have that Elite pad.
I see. I really like my Xbox One controller. I use it for the PC, and I like them.
Cheap.
They do wear out quite quickly, though, from what I can tell.
I don't have any on me, but I wonder if I can emulate the sound. Have you got one on you?
Yeah.
Have you got the right? Get your controller in your hand.
Yep.
And then wiggle the stick really fast, so obviously it hits the edges. That noise, I hate it. Right? I hate it. But when you do it on Elite pad, do you see what I mean? It's more muffled, but it's heavier.
Yeah.
It's like a meat, because obviously you've got metal everywhere. It's all metal sticks, like aluminium. It's just heavier, and I prefer that sound. But I can't stand the whole like. It's just like obviously when you're doing it like ironically or testing it like that.
Yeah.
It's fine, but then I've heard people like sitting there and they're trying to play fighting games or like a game that's like track and field, like Beijing or the Olympics, and it just makes my skin go funny. Like, just hear this because it's so fucking cheap. But sorry, don't take that as a rant.
That was a rant.
Yeah, don't take it as a rant. Nintendo need to get on that sort of Elite pad, like Elite Joy-Con game.
Their Pro controller's really good.
Oh yeah, no, that's really good. But as I say, if you're commuting, I find that putting the Switch down and then using the Joy-Cons is a little bit, I don't know.
I did it to Bali. I went to Bali and it's a 12-hour plane ride, and I played the shit out of Zelda. And yeah, I put it down on the little tray and I played. But I didn't have. I had the little controller where you clip the Joy-Cons in. I didn't. They weren't free, like holding them.
Yeah.
Because that has the extra bump at the back as well. Yeah, and that's really good. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential with the Switch now, just as a medium for gaming. Yeah, you can do a lot with it.
I think this year is going to be the year.
What were you talking about originally that got us onto the Switch? Oh yes, fighting games. See, look at that. That's called the river of knowledge there.
Yeah,
and it flows.
The ultimate segue. But okay, we're going to divert away from fighting games a little bit, but we're going to say sort of on the same train track. Just a little bit of news: Monster Hunter World. If you don't know what Monster Hunter is, where have you been? And also, Monster Hunter World is the newest title from Capcom that's just like all the other ones, but a lot more polished and a lot better. If you haven't heard of it and you've heard of Horizon Zero Dawn, it's like that. It's you hunt monsters, you get their gear, you make better gear, you hunt more monsters, except Monster Hunter World is on a lot larger scale. Like, you can't just sit there and go, oh, that monster looks really cool, I'm going to kill it to try and get its stuff. Monster Hunter World is, oh, that monster looks really cool, I'm going to spend an hour researching it and trying to hunt it, and then try and find where it is, and then follow it back to its hideout to then get it. It's much more of a reward, but it's more of a slow game. But that is now the best-selling game from Capcom, and it's beating Street Fighter. Not as a collective, it's basically no single Street Fighter game has beaten the sales of Monster Hunter World.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't either, because when you buy a console, when you buy any console and you've got mates, you buy a fighting game so you can beat your mates up, just like we said before. And the game that you usually go for, everyone knows, is Street Fighter. Like, Street Fighter 4 and 2 are the most popular Street Fighters for retail, like money, like for copies sold retail. Not in arcades. But obviously, because Street Fighter 2's come out so many goddamn times on different machines, you know, that puts to it. But it's just quite amazing that Monster Hunter World has beaten Street Fighter 2. Don't you think that's a bit weird?
Yes and no.
I don't know, like,
because the way that they've marketed it, in, I guess there's no way it's going to beat Street Fighter as a franchise. Like the Monster Hunter franchise won't have a fucking chance.
But the thing is, though, if you put Monster Hunter World and all of its predecessors,
how many has it actually sold? Do you know?
It's unsure.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Monster Hunter World, the whole franchise, there can't be anywhere near the sales of Street Fighter. Or the Street Fighter franchise. No way.
Oh, I'm not. I should have done some research to try and find the franchise comparisons. But what I mean is, Monster Hunter World is beating all Street Fighter games singly.
Okay, let me put it this way then.
So
there's a lot more gamers now per capita in terms of the generation than there were 20 years ago.
Definitely.
Because it was such a newer medium than it is now. So therefore, you've got a much bigger captive audience.
Well, I think because Street Fighter is losing its steam because of all these other fighting games that come out. Like, there is fighting games everywhere now.
But how much more can you reinvent it?
Well, you can't. Like, Street Fighter it's pretty much at the end of its lifespan now. Street Fighter, like, if they release a Street Fighter 6, you know, it'll be the same iconic characters because that's what people want to see, but it's essentially going to be the same game. The differences between Street Fighter 4 and 5 were fairly minimal. You know, there wasn't that much better. You know, obviously, it's a new console. And I think you could get Street Fighter 4 on PS4, actually, before 5 came out. But there wasn't that much different, you know?
Yeah.
But Monster Hunter World is a massive difference to the previous games, and that's probably why it's done so well. But I think Street Fighter is at the end of its cycle, because the two big fighting games back, you know, when we used to play arcade games, was Soul Calibur and Street Fighter. And then Tekken came on the scene.
Oh, no, not Soul Calibur. I'd say Mortal Kombat.
Well, Mortal Kombat is, with all due respect, it's a fighting game of its own. The only reason why is because that game was pure for the absolute, you know, it was the violence you played that game. It's a beautiful...
Yeah, but it had a completely different flow as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it was...
Because you've got your Tekken flow, you've got your Mortal Kombat flow, and you've got your Street Fighter. That, you know, like, I could say, oh, that's a Street Fighter clone, or that's a Mortal Kombat clone, in terms of not by just the way the developers made the game. So, but not trying to digress too much here.
No.
Monster Hunter, I think it's because of the captive audience, and I think that again the genre of the fighting game genre is not a dying genre, but its heyday was back in the arcades.
Oh, 100%.
And I think it's the whole what we're talking about, cultural trends following games, and then some of them come out of favour.
Well, I think also the Western market is now adopting, you know, the Asian sort of way of gaming now. Like, you think of how many Japanese RPGs and visual novels and all these like anime-related games or Japanese sort of related.
Well, even anime. In the popularity over here now.
Popularity is over here. I used to watch quite a bit of anime as a kid, but that was due to my brother. My brother trained me well in life because I am who I am today because of the influences my brother gave me. So obviously at night he used to sit there and play his PC, and I used to watch like Vampire Hunter D, Dominion Tank Police, you know, violent anime.
Cowboy Bebop?
No, that was slightly after. That was slightly after my time.
But to be honest, when I was
Akira,
that's the classic, isn't it? But
yeah, but
when I was watching it,
like...
back when we were kids, we had 4 channels, terrestrial channels, and that was it. Unless you owned Sky, satellite service, the equivalent of cable in America, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the only time I could watch anime was at 2:00 in the morning on a Friday night or something when I was a kid on Channel 4. Now you can get it on Netflix. In fact, Netflix make their own anime series.
Yeah.
So
it's like Tales of Sidonia or whatever it's called, isn't it?
Oh, there's loads of them on there that they've commissioned.
Castlevania is a Netflix original, isn't it?
Yeah, I watched that. That was quite a good mini-series. That's worth
I
watch.
want to see that. I'm a big fan. Big fan of Castlevania.
So, yeah.
But it seems that the Western market is adopting the Japanese market a lot more now.
Yeah, but the Japanese market was fighting games. It still is.
Oh, but the thing is, it's more fighting games have always been more accessible in the Western world. Like fighting games is its own genre. Like you want to beat them up, right? Oh, okay, you want to beat them up. You have the big four. So Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken, Soul Calibur, right? They're the big four to me. But now it's just like, oh, you want a hunting game, monster hunting game? It's not. It's to me, it's too niche. It's
Oh, I don't think it's
a
as niche as
game.
you think. Because how
Well,
much?
not now. It's not.
No,
what
but
I
how
mean
much
back
different
then-
is it from Pokemon? The essential is the same. The way that it's executed is completely different. But the hunting, there are quite a few games out there that follow that basic formula.
You do bring up a good point. I suppose it's not really different to Pokemon, is it? It's just Pokemon, but more violent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
That's
you don't
interesting
fight
thought,
your
isn't it?
monsters with other monsters, but the point is you're going around, and it's something. There's something about in the human psyche about collecting.
Yeah, it's loot,
And
isn't it?
loot and progress and XP.
Getting more than like your mates or.
I mean, is Monster
Trying to
Hunter that
progress
more
with different
difficult from
gear.
Dark Souls? Because Dark Souls has got a retro feel to it because it's about boss battles and finding the pattern.
I would
And if
say
you
they're more
lose-
similar.
Yeah,
They're more
exactly.
similar than you think.
That's what I mean.
But
So
Dark Souls is for gluttons for punishment. That's
yeah, but it's got a retro feel because retro games used to be balls difficult,
I
right?
tell you what, though, I don't even think Dark Souls is that well made. like,
No, it's glitchy.
As a game, no, as a game and a story, it's absolutely magical. Don't get me wrong, it's a great game, but it's more of the control system that it doesn't feel as realistic and as fluid as games are. It's very, it feels arcadey. Like if you sit there, you'll be attacking, but then you can dodge instantly. It's a move that you can do.
Yeah,
it's
but I
very
think the
fast.
whole point, what From Software is trying to make, is the bosses are hard, but they're not cheap,
Yeah,
and you can find a way
if
to
you die,
kill them
it's
on the.
because you made a
Yeah,
mistake.
but you can also use the environment against them to kill them.
Mm.
I found there was one boss on Dark Souls 3 where I actually found he couldn't attack me when I was on a certain point on a staircase. Perfect.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't think the Monster Hunter thing is that original in terms of when you break it down to you're fighting ever-increasing bosses, essentially, one after the other, to upgrade your loot and your gear to fight ever-increasing harder bosses.
Yeah.
That formula isn't that difficult to Diablo.
No, I agree. I think it's more that when Monster Hunter was announced, they were like, "Oh yeah, Monster Hunter is getting a UK release." There's a guy that I work with, Ben, great guy. He's obsessed with it and he was loving it. But over here, we were just going to get the game. That was it. But in Japan, they had a custom PS4 Pro with custom controllers. There's so much merchandise. It's massive, massive over there. Absolutely gargantuan in size. But all that UK got. And America was just that game. But then all of a sudden, the speed of it and the momentum started building up and up and up, and then all of a sudden we're getting steelbooks, we're getting merchandise, and in the end they brought the Pro over here, and all of the limited edition stuff. And I'm just like, why didn't they announce this at the start? I think this game has shocked the world personally. I think people I don't even think Capcom thought it was going to be this popular in this country and America. I thought they were just like, yeah, well, we'll release it to those markets, for the die-hard fans, and then all of a sudden everyone's gone, this is amazing. And they've gone, holy crap.
But you see, I've
We didn't
watched
see
some
that
reviews
coming.
of it, and people aren't saying it's amazing.
Well, my partner's played it, and she said, it's good. It's not really her sort of game, but she couldn't stop playing it. And I think that's quite a worthy point to bring up, because it's not a game that she was particularly enjoying, but the fact that she was getting loot had her hooked.
Yeah.
And if you're hooked on a game with loot, then obviously it's got something there. It's got something that makes you want to keep playing. But in the end, she stopped playing it. But she said it was good. She said it was okay. She enjoyed it, but just couldn't stop.
Yeah, but do you think this is it's benefit from the hype train?
Well, yeah, I think the hype train influenced her decision to actually make her want to play it. She wouldn't have given it the time of day beforehand, but
Yeah,
because
but
everyone was sitting there going, "Oh my god, this game is amazing," she's like, "Well, yeah, all right," but she would never, ever, ever in a million years sit there and go, "Oh, I want to play the PS2 version of Monster Hunter." I think or I'm going to get a 3DS so I can play the 3DS version.
Or the Wii.
She wouldn't. Sorry.
Wii U.
Yeah, it was on Wii U as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've never none of them. Well, in my opinion, which if you disagree, say in the comments, it's fine. But if, in my opinion, I've never seen a Monster Hunter World get any like this sort of response, and there's been a lot of Monster Hunter games, so this has got to be something special. Not for me though.
No, it's not something.
It's not a game that interests me. I like loot, but having to hunt a monster for an hour, do you know what? I've got better things to do.
But I mean, to be honest, well, you say that, I still want to play that Hunt Showdown.
Yeah, but I want to play that Hunt Showdown as well, but I'll tell you now, I'll straight off, I will only play it with you.
Yeah, it's for the co-op.
I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to jump in with some random person that if there's some sort of loot system that whoever's alive gets all the loot, if they shoot me at the end like you could do in the Division or something like that, or the Kane and Lynch games where you could kill everyone to get the most loot, just not interested. I need to trust my partner.
I think the whole that is about trusting your partner. It's the other teams, isn't it? You got to be wary of.
Yeah. Obviously, you're PvPing against other teams to try and hunt this monster in the center. You know, everyone's hunting the monster, and you've got to be the one that gets the trophy, which I think is a great concept. It's really cool, but I just need to know a little bit more about it before I start.
Oh, I'm not committing 25 quid to it on pre-release at the moment.
I'll tell you what, early access is getting annoying, isn't it?
I don't mind early access if the price reflects it. Like, they are billions. I bought that for 17 quid and I've played it for 50 hours already. Haven't found any glitches. The story hasn't come out yet. It's just survival. Worth every penny. Even if I don't play the story now, 50 hours for 17 quid, that's great. So it all depends on the game. And even PUBG, we've played our money's worth.
Oh, PUBG, it was worth it. It still is. Because now it's actually got an official release date.
It's released, isn't it? It's released officially. But
it's been released now, and it will still cost the same amount. Obviously, when you get early access, you don't have to pay again. But a poor example of early access is that Inquisitor Martyr that we played. That we paid £33 for a game that was nowhere near finished. And I know people are, no, stick with it. You know, like you get more content added, but they said, the character gets wiped every update. And there's, and you think, well, why am I going to waste my time playing this to have my progression just completely eliminated and just eradicated off the face of the planet? To then start again when I could just sit there and go, no, I'll wait until that's out, actually. They're not giving me an incentive to want to buy into an early access project.
For me, it wasn't that. It was the whole control system was completely wang.
Well,
I don't know how else to describe it. It's just wrong.
There was no point having a cover system. There's no point having a melee class.
No.
It was, if with the melee class, I started off as a melee class and I just got shot to crap because I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got my sword and I'm getting shot and I need to get there in time to actually get a hit in, and I'm already dead and now uninstall. It's just a poor design. But £33 for an early access game is way too high. It's too much money for an early access game. I would happily have paid and kept that for 18 quid. Because I'll be like, all right, well, when it comes out, I've helped them with the funds.
Yeah, go back to it.
I'll go back to it later. I've helped them with the funds, but it's given me the incentive to purchase it. But I'm not going to pay a AAA price for a game that has no guarantee that it's going to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
Those cover mechanics might stick there right until the end. And that means, well, I'm definitely not playing now, and I'm £33 down. But luckily, we got Steam refunds, so that's okay. But
right, so what are we moving on to next, sir?
We're going to move on to, it's another console-related thing because, I think news is a little bit sort of, thin other than the Ryzen and the graphics card Bitcoining thing. But what I'd like to do is I would like to do a comparison of PlayStation Plus and games with gold. Are you a member of either one?
Yeah, PlayStation Plus for me.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you one thing, right? I haven't got an Xbox. I had an Xbox at one point. The reason I don't have an Xbox is I prefer my PS4 for the content, but any exclusives now due to the whole unification of Windows 10. I don't need one.
Just play it on your PC, don't you?
Gears of War 4 PC, Halo Wars 2 PC. If it comes out, I can just play it on PC. So I don't see a need to have one.
I'll tell you a secret. I bought an Xbox One because, I bought the Xbox One S, not the X, the S, because, having an Xbox, the exclusives, me and my partner could play co-op because we have 2 Xboxes, and now, since we bought it, it was fun for Forza, and now all it is just a 4K Blu-ray player. That's all it does now.
Yeah.
I've lived in the house of bacon, or whatever you want to call it. I've lived here for 2 months now. No, 3. No, when did we move in? 3 months, right? I've set it up. I haven't even turned it on.
No.
I dread to think what the updates are like because I turned that power save off. I'm going to turn it on. And it's going to be 4 weeks of updates. I'll be like, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to trade it in. But it's just a 4K player. However, I've been conned into getting games with gold for another year, but I'm not going to go into that because that's made my blood boil a little bit. But so you're a PlayStation Plus man. Would you like to hear what's free?
Go for it. Let's hear it. I want to hear what is on Xbox first.
Okay, so on Xbox One, if you know what Games with Gold is, then great. If you don't know what Games with Gold is, you pay the subscription, you get free games. That's it. If you want to know more, Google it, because you should know it by now if you're watching this podcast. So Xbox One's games are Trials of the Blood Dragon, which is Trials with the 80s flavour. Really good. If you ever played Far Cry Blood Dragon, it's that, but with Trials elements, but you've also got some side-scrolling, shooty gun as well. It's cool. It's a cool game, but it is a indie title. It didn't get a hard copy release. It's okay. Super Hot on Xbox One, bearing in mind. Super Hot, great game. If you've got VR, Xbox One does not do VR.
No.
So you've got Super Hot, which without VR turns into it's all right. It's pretty cool to play over an evening, but you wouldn't go back to it. So you've got that. The 360 titles on Games of Gold is Brave the video game. So unless you've got a child, right, that's useless to you because the film was a bit poo. That's my opinion. That's not everyone's, but the film was a bit poo. I couldn't throw myself into that. I definitely don't want to be playing a game for it because I'm just not interested. If I have a kid, right, I've downloaded it as well. I'm not being a hypocrite, but free stuff is free stuff, and I've been like strong-armed into paying 40 quid for a subscription, so I'm going to download the game. If I ever have a kid and they like Brave, I'll download that game for them to play. And the other one is Quantum Conundrum, which I've never heard of.
No, it's not really any bells.
It's an indie title, right? So, Xbox One's games, 4 of them. They usually do 4. Sometimes they have AAA titles, sometimes they don't. So, Trials of the Blood Dragon, yeah, it's pretty good. I'd give that a point for that. Super Hot, probably give about half a point for that, because it's good, but it's not as good as it could be because of the VR support that it should have. Brave, no points. Quantum Conundrum, no points. So that's pretty weak, yeah? You still following?
Yeah.
Here's PlayStation Plus.
Here we go.
Right. I'll start from the bottom, right? Because there's 5 games, right? There's 5 games with PlayStation Plus, and some of them are cross-play, but I'm not going to mention all the cross-play. So you've got Legend of K, that's been on there, I think, for a couple of months. It's a kiddie platformer. Nah, it's all right. Not interested.
Right.
Mighty Number 9, which is like a poor man's Mega Man, but not as good. Really bad art style. I'm only saying it's like Mega Man because the dude looks like Mega Man that you control. Yeah. It's cheapy. It's okay. Bombing Busters. Don't know what that is.
No, I haven't heard of that.
PS Vita. Everyone loves a PS Vita game. And Claire Extended Cut, which apparently is a really interestingly animated, retro-looking, like 8-bit horror game, I think. So that's pretty cool. And so that's 3 games that you think, I'd probably give them a go. And then Legend of K, which is alright.
Yeah, fine.
And then you get the new Ratchet and Clank. That's a AAA title. That's got a hard release, and that was pretty good, if I remember rightly. That still gets some good money, which is great. And Bloodborne. Yeah. That's 2 AAA titles there, right? Even if you don't like Bloodborne. Even if you don't like Dark Souls and that sort of from software style game, give it a shot. You are losing nothing. You know, it's literally costing you £0 and 0 pence.
Well, to be honest, I know
buy a subscription
from the past, releases that they've done. If I was just buying a PS4 and I bought that membership and I couldn't afford or I didn't want to buy any other games, the games they've released over all the years are just great. You know.
Well, that's a good selection. If you buy a subscription and you've just bought a PS4, that's a good selection of games to start off with.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah.
You've got Bloodborne, a horror third-person hack and slash game, and Ratchet and Clank, a good old-style platform game, has been remastered. Those two alone, I think, are worth the subscription for this month. Yeah, the other ones, I'm not really interested in. I'll probably give that Claire extended cut game a go, but for Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank, PS4 won this month. I'm sorry, they did. Trials of the Blood Dragon is a good game, but it doesn't compete to those two AAA titles. And I just think Xbox One kind of need to sort of pull their finger out and push their game a little bit more. You know, for the last couple of months, I haven't got them up, but there's been some really weak titles.
Yeah.
It's like Assassin's Creed India Chronicles was last month, I think it was. I didn't even know that was a thing.
No,
I don't think it's got a hard copy. I don't know. I just think it's one of those, like how Brotherhood and Revelations, Revelations were like the knockoff games.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed. I think it's one of them. I don't know for sure, but I think it is. But you never get anything. Oh, Trials Evolution was a couple of months ago. That's a hard copy. It's a AAA title. That's a good game. That was a good month. But then I honestly can't remember anything that's come out on Games with Gold recently that's actually been like, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to purposely get a subscription this month.
No, whole point is they were trying to fight PlayStation by bringing out these games.
Well, it's competition. You want people to side with your console, because if they side with your console, they have the potential to spend money with your company, and money is good. Money is what makes companies go around. It's just those. I wouldn't usually bring this up in a podcast. I just wouldn't. It's not important to me of who won, but just the sheer difference in quality of titles for this month. I just had to bring it up. So I apologise if you're not interested, but I just had to. That's just such a big difference.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Bloodborne, it's the Game of the Year edition as well. Apparently, you download it and it's all the
DLCs. Yeah.
Not just the base game, and that's good, man. That's good. I think it's now. How long have we been on? Okay, I think it's time to catch up. Shall we say? Are you interested in some new games of what's come out?
You know what? This is always kind of a dry period, so I want to see whether you can actually pique my interest now.
Okay. So we've got PS4, Xbox One, Switch.
I'll give you a
PC.
yeah or a meh.
Okay, so what do you want to go with first?
Let's go PS4.
Okay, so PS4. I'm going to leave out the ones that I don't think are worth it.
Yeah.
So today, the things that come out today, there's quite a lot apparently. The Rocket League DC Superheroes DLC pack came out yesterday. I like Rocket League. I think it's good, but I don't think these DLC packs are worth their weight. They're worth their salt, because all it is going to be a car that you control and you can't modify it, just like they did with the Batman one. But that's a whole different ball game that I'm not going to go into. Project Cars 2 DLC. You interested in that?
No, not particularly.
Apparently, the new Fear Effect has come out, and it's got a red Metacritic score. I used to like Fear Effect. I think that was good.
Okay,
but not this new one.
No, obviously not.
Scribblenauts, not interested in that. Assassin's Creed Origins DLC has come out. The Curse of the Pharaohs. That might interest some people.
Yeah. It's not even a game release.
No, it's not. It's just DLC. All that's come out. There's two games which I think you'll be like, oh, might give it a go. We've got Final Fantasy 15, the Royal Edition.
No.
But that's more PC, I think, if you're going to play it, purely because you can play as Gordon Freeman. Don't ask me why that crossover even exists. You can play as Gordon Freeman.
It's just weird.
It's like, all right. And Bravo Team for the PSVR came out.
Yeah, now that I will be getting at some point.
I really want to get a PSVR just so we can play this side by side.
It does look good.
I'm interested in that. Like, that looks like a real gritty, visceral VR experience.
It like Farpoint, they want you to have the aim controller, but I'm still not paying 80 quid for it.
No, I'm sure you'll be able to just use the PlayStation pad. Like,
Oh no, you can,
you know.
you can. Oh, but I would like the aim controller, but 80 quid's too much.
No, it's just not worth it. Xbox One is much of the same.
Have they got any? Well, there's no point in copying it. Is there any other exclusives?
No.
No.
Apparently, Turok Remastered came out a couple of days ago.
Well, if it's been Turok, I really enjoyed Turok, so fine. But
yeah, and Turok 2 as well came out on the 2nd. So that's all right, I suppose, but nothing different on there. Switch, what have we got for the Switch that's come out recently? Fear Effect?
yeah.
Rocket League DLC? No, it looks like the Switch is dry again.
Yeah, I think no. There's a lot of
really
games that are
isn't
coming out on their eShop.
I've got the list of them here, and they're just...
There's nothing nothing on the eShop because they've got hundreds of games on there now. They really push the eShop.
Ah, you see what? They pushed the eShop because people got those gold coins that they've been collecting for a year, and they expire over a year.
I've got £2 worth. You can now use them directly as currency.
Yeah, but what I mean is they expire after a year.
Yeah.
So, and because it's been out for a year, as soon as the store has come online, all of a sudden, your points have expired. There'd be absolute uproar.
Oh no, but what I mean
so now
is
they're like,
they've got a lot of. I bought quite a few eShop games that have got no physical release that were really good. I got the Resident Evil Revelations. I got Steam.
Great set of games.
Steam. Oh god, I can't remember what it's called now. It's a puzzle game, but it's also a mech game. Brilliant game.
No, you've piqued my interests.
It's like columns, but you target your enemy mechs different parts, and you have to use different energy to fire and different energy to keep your shields up. So if they shoot you and your shields go down, you then got to collect a certain coloured gems on the puzzle to get your shields back up. It's brilliant, and it's a roguelike game.
That sounds quite fun, but that also sounds like something that I'd expect to see in a mobile game.
Oh yeah, it could be done as a mobile game,
Yeah,
but it's just it works on the Switch. I played that a lot. I played probably 20 hours, 30 hours of that. And it was cheap. It was like 15 quid. But yeah, in terms of AAA titles, they are coming.
I've got no doubt about that. You know, this year is going to be the year for the Switch.
Zelda obviously was beautiful. Mario Odyssey was fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to get on to the old Mario Odyssey.
Obviously, you got Bayonetta, and Bayonetta 2.
And Bayonetta. It's been a long time since I played... Well, Bayonetta 1, I haven't played Bayonetta 2. Because that was Wii U only, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
If you buy physically Bayonetta 2, you get Bayonetta 1 as a download.
Oh, you can't grumble at that, can you?
No.
Okay, so on PC games, it's nothing much the same as usual. There's probably a lot of the anime games, the Final Days Blood Dawn, Dollal Simulator. I don't know what that is. No, it just sounds but weird. I'm gonna have a look. The most authentic stock exchange simulator.
Oh, God.
I couldn't be less interested. Someone actually spent time to make that game. Final Fantasy Windows Edition with Gordon Freeman.
Oh, that's just weird.
Literally nothing else. Nothing decent unless you've got a Oculus Rift. No. There is one called Count Dookie Fart, though. That is a game that came out recently. But yeah, other than that, there is no decent, worthwhile game releases to talk about. Or not that I've heard of, anyway. There might be some gems in here, but I haven't heard about them. Not yet, anyway.
No, I think it's going to be a lull. Obviously, normally this time of year, it's just after Christmas.
Yeah.
I say just after, but you catch my drift. And building into the summer, you might get a few good releases in the summer, but it's just waiting for the autumn and winter, isn't it?
Hold the phone.
Hold the phone.
Do you know what? Don't worry about it. No, ignore it. I just had a little moment where my anus clenched a little bit. Because on the PS Vita,
Yeah.
It says like new game releases, and I just kind of scrolled down and it said Zen and Valkyrie.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know if you remember from like the old MSX days and Atari ST, or maybe even Mega Drive. There was a game called Zenon on there, which was a
Yes.
side-scrolling shooter.
I remember that.
And I was like, oh my god.
It was like an R-Type clone, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like R-Type, Gradius, Raiden. And I thought, if they've done a new one, I'm literally getting my Vita out right now, charging it up and buying it. However, I didn't realise it's a roguelike Japanese RPG, so all of a sudden my anus unclenched and we're back to normal, so I'm sorry about that. But I thought, if that was it, oh my god.
Well,
crazy.
I think that concludes the festivities for this week.
I think it does. I think that does conclude the festivities. Hope everyone enjoyed this. You know, we will be doing this regularly. As you know, I don't know if you're following the timelines, but this one was supposed to be a new segment that we've thought up called Out of Your Comfort Zone. But I've already been assigned a game, which I'm not going to say.
A really good game, by the way.
A really good game. But I made the mistake of thinking, oh, what would be funny for Ali to play so he would get angry? And I chose a game that was not suitable. It was suitable, but I don't think there's 3 hours playtime in the game in total.
There won't be 3 hours gameplay, because in the first 5 minutes I'll probably smash the controller.
That's it, and I just thought that was a little bit too much of a high risk. The game that I was going to assign to him was Dino Dinny's Kickoff. Now, if you know what that game is, I'm sorry. That's all I'm saying, that they shouldn't have been made. Apparently it's got a massive cult following, but I don't get it.
Yeah, but it's like really awful movies that are so good they're bad. Maybe it's like that.
It's a remake of an old game, but the old game was just as poop as well. But anyway,
we will be doing the segment. We will be doing the
segment next week. Like, we'll be doing it properly, but I messed up, so I apologise about that. But usually our plan is probably going to be podcast segment. You know, that's how it will go, unless we decide that we don't need to work anymore. Our full-time jobs suck, and we're just going to do this all the time. But I doubt that's going to happen. But yeah.
If that happens, though, I'm going to get loads of gold bling.
Oh, yes.
So you'll know, because I'll be blinged up. Grill, chains, everything.
I'm just going to get a giant foam hat and some foam hands.
Made out of gold.
And just do that all the time.
Gold foam ones.
Yeah, that's it. Just do that. All the time. Because I won't have to go to work. But anyway, well, thank you for listening to us. Our two humble entertainers are... I can't remember what they're called. I was going to... Masters of Ceremonies.
Maybe we should have... Maybe you should have been Deanie and I should have been Dino. Dino's podcast. I don't know who he is, but I hate him.
Oh, he's just some programmer that made a really bad football game and everyone loved it. It's really weird.
Yeah, so that concludes. Thanks for listening. Please like if you like.
Yeah.
Dislike if you dislike, but please leave a comment if you didn't like it so we can improve. Yeah. Share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to our channel because that helps us a lot. Thank you.
But thank you for listening, and we will see you another time. For now, that's it.